Welcome to the Extra Mile podcast for bar exam takers. My name is Jackson Mummy, and each week we'll be bringing you updated information about the bar exam and what you need to do in order to make the next bar exam your last bar exam. Ready to get started? Let's jump to it. Hey everybody, welcome. Today is Wednesday, April 19th, and we are getting ourselves organized and put together here and ready to answer questions and bring you up to date on all things bar exam related. As usual, I have June here with us on camera and also on the chat box, and we have Tracy here and we have Amanda here. Hi everybody, good to see you. We are glad to have you here. This is a week that has had some results out. We're going to talk about those. We've got some things going on for us in terms of boot camp and other resources. And then we've got some great questions that came in during the week. And so along with the panel, we're going to try and answer those questions as best we can. So we got a lot to cover today, and we are glad that you're with us live. And if you're watching later or watching the podcast again, glad to have you with us. Let me start with just talking a little bit about boot camp, because that's one of the big things coming up, and very excited about this. Boot camp is a live 2-day session here in Denver, Colorado, May 19th and 20th. We've started to take applications. We have people enrolling, and we are only taking 15 people into boot camp. There is a short quiz with a $100 refundable application fee to be able to figure out if you get one of the golden tickets. And if you do, then you get to come to Denver and work with Tracy and me. We're going to talk about photo reading and mind mapping and how to write essays and performance tests and take multiple choice questions. And then June's going to be here to do her mindset coaching, which is pretty awesome stuff. June, you and I have done a lot of boot camps together. What do you think makes this a special kind of event? Why should people consider coming?
I think boot camp is it's accelerated. We're able in person to do a lot more with you a lot faster. It's very intense without being overwhelming. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And we're actually, when we get a visual on like how you write or how you work or how you mind map, and we see something that might be better to help you, Jackson and Tracy are able to see that and quickly give you that feedback and get you started on that right track, so you don't feel like you're kind of banging your head against a wall. For me, that's what I see the transformation the fastest is. We have a lot of people come in, I don't know about this. And by the time they're leaving on Saturday, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass this exam. It's just, even the confidence boost is amazing in just a short span of time.
Yeah. And boot camp is the opportunity for me to teach you to photo read. If you're already a photo reader, I'm going to make you a better photo reader. If you haven't done it, I'm going to show you how to photo read in just a few hours, believe it or not, and then how to apply those skills. And then Tracy's going to be with us to bring her perspective as a practicing attorney, as a judge, as a bar coach, to see how you put all those pieces together and make it work. This will be your first boot camp, Tracy. Excited about that?
I am. I'm probably a little bit nervous, just like people considering getting into boot camp, but we'll learn together, and we'll grow a skill set together.
Yeah,
that will make you more successful on the bar exam, and hopefully get you over that.
Yeah, I think so. And we're really excited about this. Now, one of the things we've done, we recognize that for a lot of people, finances are important here. So we are doing something we've never done before. We are offering an 8-payment plan option to pay for your boot camp. So if you fill out the application, you pay your $100 fee, and if you're accepted, that $100 is applied towards your tuition. But then we have a program in which you pay $300 a month for 8 months, and that pays for your boot camp. Or you can make a single payment of $2,000 or $1,900 after your deposit and save yourself some money. That will cover everything in the course, including your photo reading. The only thing that will not be included in boot camp tuition is your hotel and travel and any food that you do outside of our events. Now, I've already made arrangements with a few people to come in via Zoom to talk to you. We are very excited. We've had some boot camp alums that we just found out this week pass the bar exam, and that's always incredible news. And just a shout out to Marvin and Samantha, Roxanne. Those are 3 boot camp alums who've passed, and their stories are really amazing, really amazing. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to get 1 or 2 of them there for quick Zoom chats. And then we're going to also bring in Judge Joe Stevens. We're going to have a couple judges. Tracy's a judge, Joe's a judge. Joe's also a former NBA player, played with the Houston Rockets for 7 years. As he puts it, I had to guard Michael Jordan, but the bar exam scared me more. So there you go. Joe studied with us and passed the Texas bar on his first try last week, and he's going to speak to you as well. So we've got a lot of things going on. All you need to do right now is to put in your application. We are reviewing those to make sure that with only 15 seats that we get the people who can benefit the most from this experience. Amanda, you didn't get to do boot camp because we were in COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've had students that have gone through boot camp and you've talked about it. What kind of reaction did you get from them?
Yes, I have had students in group coaching. I am always really excited when they'll share about some of the kind of miracle moments, I guess, that I would say they had during boot camp, because I think everyone benefits from it. So even if you can't go, you can get on your group coaching after and learn from your peers that did go there. But if you can go experience it live in living color, I would definitely recommend it. Students love it. It really gives them like that extra edge, especially that mental aspect of it all. So yeah, I recommend it, even though I haven't gone, because I have not heard a complaint yet.
That's right. And we would have loved to have had you in a boot camp. So that's where we're going. Boot camp is, the spots are filling up. Time is coming soon. So make sure you jump in, and we've had several people enroll this week. So slots are beginning to fill up, and we don't want you to miss out on that. Let me swing now to talk a little bit about results. And again, this was a relatively quiet week. We had a fair number of states, but most of them were relatively small. The largest state that reported results was Texas, but Texas, in the way that Texas can only be, has not yet given their statistics. They've just given a list of people that passed. So I don't have any numbers to provide for you. I am pleased to tell you that we had students taking the Texas bar, the UBE, who've passed, and that's always great news, and we're very excited. And if you have not seen the interview I did with Joe Stevens, it's up on YouTube. It's on the community group. It is fabulous. This is a guy who was a judge, elected judge in Texas. They have a weird rule in Texas. You don't have to be a member of the bar. You don't even have to be a lawyer to be a justice of the peace. So he got elected, then decided he needed to learn more, and he went to law school. This is after a very successful MBA career. And then he took the bar, studied with us. He worked very closely with Brianna right before the exam. And he not only passed the Texas bar, he passed it with a high enough score to be licensed in every UBE jurisdiction. So Amanda, he's up in your realm and your numbers, and we're very excited. But his interview is great, and he's a Texas bar taker. Some other states that released were smaller numbers of bar takers, but I want to just share this with you because we've got really 2 weird things happening here. We had some states with less than 50% pass rates. Maine and Missouri, Oklahoma and Tennessee all were less than 50% overall pass rates. Maine had a 36% rate with a 17% repeat taker rate. Missouri, 47%. Overall, 38%. Oklahoma, 37 overall, 26% repeaters. Tennessee, a state that we do have some students in, 36% overall, 26% repeaters. Now, what's interesting is that those 4 states generally didn't have big numbers. Missouri had 200 bar takers. Tennessee had 300. Then we have 2 states reporting this week, Utah and Vermont, that had 65 and 66% pass rates, but very small numbers of bar takers. 79 bar takers in Utah, 35 in Vermont. Amanda, you're up in the Northeast. I know, Vermont, Maine, they're both UBE states. Maine comes in at 36% and Vermont comes in at 66%. Does that make any sense?
No, yeah, that's Maine is particularly surprising, just being like so low. So it's 36 overall. That's where that was how it says.
17% repeater.
Yeah, and 17% repeaters. Lots of great schools out here too. So I'm not sure we can't say what's going on there. And I'll be very interested to see Massachusetts. I believe they're releasing by the end of the day scores. So
that's what we're understanding. So we're looking forward to that, and good luck to all the Massachusetts stickers.
Bigger, I think. Bigger. So so we can get more numbers.
Yeah, I would say if you had to repeat the bar exam and you're taking the UBE and you're up in the Northeast and you have a choice between Maine and Vermont, I'd take Vermont right now. I don't know why. I don't know why the numbers are different. But again, small sample sizes makes a difference.
Yes. Yeah.
What we expect coming forward, we've got Massachusetts expected today. We are expecting the New York results by the end of the month, typically, and our guess is around the 26th. That's what my spidey sense is telling me. It's not always accurate, but I think that's a pretty good bet for somewhere in that range. Then New Jersey should follow relatively soon after that. DC is just different. We just don't know when they'll release, but that's another big jurisdiction in the UBE, but we would expect that to be relatively soon. Then we'll swing into May, and in May we get California and Georgia. Those are the two big jurisdictions that we're watching for. In general, my take on the numbers is that they continue to follow the same trend that we saw in Florida, which is lower than expected pass rates, certainly for first-time takers, and overall, the repeat bar taker pass rate continues to be between 20 and 30% almost everywhere. So when our students who are repeat takers are getting passing scores, it is something honestly to celebrate. And we are very excited, and we are very proud of all of you that got through. And we recognize what a huge accomplishment that is in this given environment, difficult environment that we've got. Tracy or Amanda, any other thoughts as we're looking at these numbers?
There's not a whole lot to say there. Like I said, surprising for like the low numbers, but small sample size, like you had said. I'm curious, just really curious how the rest will turn out. It's anxious, exciting, a lot of things to follow as they release results in the way that they do.
Yeah, I honestly sometimes feel like I'm on a roller coaster. I get an email or a text, or in some cases a phone call, and I'm like, and then there are students who have passed who have been struggling with the exam, in some cases for years. We got some of those this week who passed, and it was just euphoric. It was such a great feeling to see that happen. So I'm very excited, and good luck to everybody that's waiting on their exam results still. Congratulations to those of you who were successful. If you were unsuccessful on this exam, do not give up. Continue to work with us, continue to press on. The interesting thing, I did 3 interviews this week. I just want to share this with successful students. In each case, they said that their advice was don't give up, just don't give up. And I think there's such wisdom in that. It's so easy in this environment to feel like I should just give up. It's not going to happen for me. And I can tell you that it will happen. And using this course, you will pass. You just have to persevere. And we have to find the right combination of tools and skills to help you get there. I know, Tracy, you're going to talk later today about Alaska, the race to survival. I'm guessing that has some connection to all this. Is that accurate?
It has a good connection. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll save that for a couple minutes. All right, let's jump into student questions then and just see what we've got and go through these. So the first question we've got, a student wrote, I didn't pass the exam. I missed the number by only 2 points. Do you think it's worth asking the bar examiners to rescore my exam since I'm close to passing? The answer is that the only part of the bar exam in every jurisdiction that can be rescored is the multistate, and that's what's called a hand score. You can ask the examiners to do a hand review of your Scantron sheet, in the situation in which you might have erased something and didn't do a full erasure and the machine picked it up incorrectly. So for a student that's 2 points away from passing and took the MBE, yes, you can definitely request the rescore on your MBE. What you can't do is request a rescore on essays or performance tests, or in the case, you just can't do that. The other thing that came up, a student said, I disagreed with one of the questions on the exam. I thought it was poorly written. I'm going to protest my score because of that. And my response to that individual was, you could do that, but it isn't going to change anything. The fact you don't like a question is actually, to the bar examiners, they don't really care. And so saying that you think a question is wrong is not something that gets you anywhere in terms of going through this process. It's frustrating, to be sure, but the other part of this, and Amanda, I know you've seen this over the years, people that don't hit that passing number, miss it by a point or 2 points or 3 points, they go on to pass the exam, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, it shows you're right there. If you can get that score, right, then you can certainly get a score 2 points higher. And a lot of times what I see is it is a mindset shift and validating, like, you have done many things right along the way. You just need to do a few more differently and try maybe a new strategy, a new way of looking at things, and you can be successful the next time.
Yeah. Along the same lines, I got this message. A student who was unsuccessful on the exam said, I'm strongly considering postponing until next year. I was so freaking close. I thought about taking a year off. What's your suggestion there? This student missed the passing score by 4 points. Tracy, what would you say to that person?
Definitely take it again at the next possible opportunity, because if you wait another year, the chances are your number's going to go down, not up. Because the best learning you have is that's in the front of your brain. And if you let it go into the lazy part of your brain, then you are repeating work, and it's not going to give you more confidence to wait longer. It's going to give you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think waiting, it just prolongs the agony. If you're within 4 points, dive in, get the work, come to boot camp, get the assistance with coaching, find the weak areas, and then work to those areas. You can pass. 4 points is definitely doable. We've seen people improve by 80 points. So 4 points, to me, I'm not saying it's nothing, but it's certainly manageable. Do you agree, Amanda?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not nothing. Definitely not. No, don't want to minimize it, but it's hugely manageable, especially in the time that we have right now. We're only in April. We're looking down the July exam. And so I would say we can take the opportunity to analyze what you did last time and how you could be successful now. You can get tips in group coaching. You could get one-on-one coaching. You could do a little bit of time management. We have time to strategize and put you in the best position possible so that it's not as hard. It's not as difficult, and you're not going at it alone.
And I think it's really the mindset. It is the disappointment of not being successful on the exam. And it feels like you just want to crawl into a hole. You want to foxhole the whole thing. You want to walk away from it. And yet this is the time. You're so close. You're on the 1 yard line. Just don't give up here. This is the time to push through. Really encourage anyone in that situation to take that approach and keep. We had some questions this week about, because Florida results came out, and Florida is an interesting state. You can pass the multi-state and bank that score. You can pass the Florida portion and bank that score. And one student said, I passed the multi-state part of the Florida exam. Do I need to retake your entire course, or do I just do the Florida portions? The answer is that there is a Florida only path through the course, and you'll see that in your online course, it says if you're a Florida only applicant, you can skip this assignment. Florida does test, obviously, the multi-state subjects, so you got to do some work there, but you don't have to do the MBE questions. Conversely, if you pass the Florida section and you are retaking the multi-state, we move you into a multi-state only course so that you can stay focused there and not have to worry about all the other things that come from Florida. And one student said they were confused by the language of the bar examiners about, do I have to do one or both? And the quick answer is we can't give admissions advice. So whenever you're confused about something like that, the best response that we can give you is contact the examiners directly. Just tell them your situation, give them your file number, and they're going to tell you what you can and can't do. And don't labor over that stuff. Just reach out to them and let them know. It's a whole lot easier today than it was during COVID, Amanda.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
You just couldn't reach them.
No,
But
you had to go
now
online. We were refreshing the website like all the time. We were posting on Facebook and things like that. Now it's a lot easier, but checking the website is also great too. Don't be discouraged if you can't get a hold of someone. The answer is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Our general recommendation for Florida bar takers is if you pass one part of the exam, just bank that score, focus only on the part that you still need to work on rather than trying to retake the entire exam. In my experience, that is the most successful methodology to pursue. It also cuts off probably 150 hours of study time, and that makes a difference. So I don't think there's a good reason to have to do that. But are the rules confusing? Yes, absolutely. So you want to be aware of that. All right. Next question was a question about mind maps. Ooh, I love questions about mind maps. We offer a webinar called Mind Maps for the Bar Exam. You can purchase that webinar. It will show you in greater depth how to create mind maps and how to use them. Within the online course, if you're a student of ours, we've already got a short video on creating mind maps. And whether you do them by hand or online, doesn't really matter. Amanda, you did a lot of mind maps. Were you using the computer program or did you do them by hand?
Interestingly enough, I did them by hand in the beginning because it was just easier for me to listen to the lectures and mind map as I went rather than like being on the computer. And I also thought there was a lot of value in using the colors and drawing and putting your hand to paper. But then when I started to condense my mind map, I thought that MindMeister was really great. It worked for me. And I was able to condense them down into smaller areas that I was working on or still didn't understand. So when I went and tested myself through the multiple choice and was learning, and then I was condensing, I moved to the computer, and that really worked for me. I also hung my mind maps up all over the house, much to my husband's dismay. And he was really happy when they all came down, but I had my room for civil procedure and criminal law. But I thought that was just also a cool way to remind myself of what I was doing and be proud of all the things that I'd learned and covered so far. For me, I'm a pretty visual person, so it gave me this like real visual stuff. Like you learned some things.
Yeah, absolutely. I did an interview this week with a successful Florida bar taker. It's a guy that was in the Judge Advocate Corps within the military, been 30 years since he took a bar exam. And he really relied on mind maps. And he talks in the interview about sitting down with a friend of his who was also studying for the bar, but using a different course. And his friend had all these books and long pages of notes and all this stuff. And he walked in with 2 notebooks of mind maps that he had created. And he said, I was just working from the mind maps. And my friend was like, how does that work? How could you possibly be studying? And he explained the value of mind mapping. So it's really important, I think, to do that. Now, the questioner then said, I see you've got this product called BarMaps. What's the difference between that and the webinar on mind mapping? And the answer is that BarMaps is actually where we've created the core mind maps for you, not the complete ones. The real value comes in the work you do in them, but we've created the template for every subject with a mind map and some detailed work there. And BarMaps gives you that for the MBE and your state course. So Florida, UBE, California, Georgia. We have special pricing for our students. You can find that in the update section of your online course. In addition to the mind maps that are in BarMaps, we have 2 other features. The video lectures have timestamps on them, so you can find the spot in the video lecture that you need for a particular subject, which I think is a real time saver. And then we do a fast finish audio version of the lecture, which is literally just the soundtrack air gapped out so that it runs at about double speed. And those are all included. And I would encourage you to add BarMaps to your course. I think it's a real time saver for you. It gives you the core in MindMeister, and then you can go and modify and work with it. This student wanted to know if there was something physically that we sent. No, it's all digital. You do it all yourself, and you can print it out in any way that you'd like. And they said, do mind maps take the place of notes taken for visual purposes? The answer is yes. That is, mind mapping is about a way of organizing your materials. You heard Amanda say you can see visually what you've done. It's a way to organize and put it together. I'll also say that at Bootcamp, we are going to be talking a lot about mind mapping. You will leave with mind maps in hand, and it is a wonderful tool to begin to understand the material. So absolutely would recommend that anybody that's in our course add BarMaps. I just think it's a great tool, and mind mapping, it really makes a difference. I don't know how else to explain it, but we have seen such improvement in scores when people started to mind map. And I think that's a big thing. I know you're a fan of mind mapping, Amanda. You like it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that I've told plenty of people about it as well, like outside of this. So it is a great skill to have, just to be able to integrate and learn information more quickly. So I think it's hard to say that about many bar courses, that I would learn something that I'm actually applying in my practice in my life. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Tracy, you've used mind maps, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah.
In a
You like
different
them?
context,
Yeah.
context, but yeah, it's a great way to condense a lot of material, and in a way that you can access it quickly later. I love, Amanda, that you're doing this in your law practice. These mind maps, once you get them put together, can really help you in your career. There are times when questions come before you and you know that you've seen it somewhere, but you don't know how to access it. And if you have the mind maps, they're right there. As far as the bar study, there's just no substitute for repetition. And so if you have the mind maps and you briefly look at them every single day when you first start sitting down to study, and if you look at them again later in the day after one of your breaks, and then you look at them again before you quit for the night, that repetition is going to start sinking in. Yeah, that there's nothing like a picture, and your mind loves pictures. So give it a picture.
Yeah. And just to be clear here, BarMaps is our product that includes mind maps. And so I know when we use the word maps a couple of times, it tends to confuse people, but you mind map in our course. If you want a head start, BarMaps is going to give you the head start. So I hope that explains that a little bit better. Definitely like that. And June, if you could put the link to BarMaps for our registered students in the chat box, you guys can check that out. It's also, as I say, in your update package in the online course. All right, another quick question. Someone who's not a student said, do you offer payment plans for your course? The answer is yes, there are payment plans, and you'll see those when you go to place your orders. So you can pay over a 12-month period, or you can get a discount by paying all at once. Now, in the same vein of pricing and finances, a student wrote to me and said, I recognize that I need some coaching. And do you think that BarCamp or Bootcamp would satisfy the need for the personal coaching? Does it replace the 8 calls or 10 calls? That's a hard question, but I think in my view, I would say Bootcamp is the better investment. I think having a couple of days live with me, with Tracy, with June, with other students, where we can see your writing, where we can improve your photo reading or teach you photo reading, where we can show you how to apply these skills to the MBE, all of those things have real value. In a perfect world, you get the coaching with me or one of our coaches and Bootcamp, but if you can only do one, I'm inclined to say Bootcamp. I just think it's an option that we didn't have for a few years because of COVID, and it has made a difference for people. So I guess I'd say I'm all in on Bootcamp. That would be my thoughts there. Tracy, Amanda, you have anything to add to that, or is that just?
I think it's a really unique experience to get to go in person with your bar cohort or certain members of it. There's a lot of online tutoring available, but there's a lot of tutoring here available, but a lot of people have that. So I think boot camp gives you a leg up, and you can always invest in the coaching down the road. Whereas if like you invest in the coaching but not the boot camp, then you don't want to regret like not getting that good start. And I think getting a good start is just so important. So that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I think if you go to boot camp, we're going to be able to help you identify where your strengths are and where your growing edges are. And if one of those is essay writing, for example, you're just not very strong on your essay writing, then the individual coaching is a great complement to the boot camp. So in some ways, we have a chance to talk with you and work with you and identify those things. And then I think we're in a better position individually, one-on-one, to tell you this is going to be really important for you, or something else would be more important for you.
Yeah, I think so. The other thing is that coaching is about the same cost as boot camp for the tuition, but boot camp includes photo reading, and boot camp can be stretched out now over 8 months in payments. So I've had people write to me and say, well, I really want to do boot camp, but gee, I have to take off a day of work. Really? I'm not disparaging that, but honestly, if you were sick, you would stay home. You're missing a Friday, and if you work on Saturdays, you're missing a Saturday. That's all you're missing. And so I say this in the kindest way. I think that these are excuses built out of fear and a reluctance to just step out of your comfort zone. I recognize that sitting in a room with other bar takers, your cohort, as Amanda said, can be a little unnerving, but we have found it is very supportive and very encouraging. And when people make that effort, they come back and they say, oh my gosh, it was life-changing. So please don't be stopped by that. There are inexpensive airfares to Denver. There's plenty of them. You can fly Spirit, God help you. It's not expensive to get here. We have a range of hotels available nearby, and there's plenty of inexpensive food options when we're not eating together as a group. You can do this really on a budget, and we've tried to make it affordable. So please check that out and let us know. And we hope that you will join us for boot camp. But I think that would be my answer to this particular student.
And just to echo that, like, again, like it's so hard for so many of our students because they are working with limited budgets, and we have so many non-traditionals. And I know what it's like to be in the position to take the bar. Even when I just graduated law school, I had no money. I was taking care of other members of my family. I did not know where my next like rent money was going to come from. And so you think of something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, means if like your food and shelter and clothing needs aren't met, how could Jackson, you ask us to pay for boot camp? They have new research has like disproven Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that this is more a mindset thing. And looking back at that now, I can say, yeah, there were things I could have done to get more help. I didn't have to do that alone. I could have taken time off work. Sometimes because we have all this pressure, we can't get out of that mindset of, I can't do this because I got to get to work. If I don't work, I don't get paid, all this thing. But there are ways you can do it. Coming from someone who has been there, I only went to law school because I had a full scholarship. I could not have afforded otherwise. It felt like it was my only option at the time. I have been there. I get it. All my peers could afford a course and I couldn't. You can do this. You can, if the best way to say, you can find a way. You can find a way and you can make it work. And like Jackson said, thank you so much for making it so affordable for our students, right?
Yeah. June, you wanted to say something?
I do. I have something to say because I echo what Amanda is talking about. And Jackson, you are my testament to this because we've known each other for so long. I too had a really hard time with money and struggle and all of that, and not realizing that I was worthy of investing in myself.
Yes.
And the minute I got over my own worthiness, and because I would give to anybody, like anybody but myself. Okay. And the minute I started giving to myself and not feeling selfish, not feeling guilty, realizing that the better I did, the more I'm able to spread that, everything changed for me with money. Like everything changed. And I started taking bigger risks and bigger rewards came. So think about it this way. If you've been struggling for years to pass, or you could be a student who it takes a few years to pass, is it not worth it to try to find a way to invest in yourself now and cut off that years? Because what you're investing, you will bring back to yourself within a very minimal amount of time. In other words, if you invest in boot camp, you pass the bar in July, you are on your way for that small boot camp fee to be back in your pocket within a few months.
And not just that, your pocket, for first of all, June, yes to everything you said, June, but building generational wealth and helping your communities, right? Tenfold, because the bar needs you. It's not just, so that's what June, I echo everything you said.
You have to come to terms that you are worthy of investing in yourself to reach your goals, and stop fighting that. We'll talk more about it on Mindset.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. That's wisdom there. One student wrote and said, I'm struggling with the decision to go all in or not. Cost is a factor, but I can't help feeling like I'm beating my head against a wall, and I'm feeling guilty about the time spent away from family and work. I get that. That's a real thing. I don't want to minimize that in any way. But I think you've heard us say, and when you look at the scores and the reports that's coming out, you have to go all in. I don't think there's a way to prepare for the bar exam in 2023 with anything less than all in. And my recommendation to students sometimes is, if you can't go all in, then sit out an exam, sit out 6 months and marshal your resources to do it. Continue studying at the level you can and then go all in. I am not seeing people pass this exam with anything less than all in. Are you, Amanda? Are you seeing anything though?
No, I think that you might also see a lot of posturing in both directions.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't study that much. It was so easy, or I'm studying so much, and people aren't actually doing productive studying. The exam is difficult no matter what. It's mentally difficult and academically difficult. And so we can't minimize that, but I think you got to figure out what all in means for you, right? What that looks like for what you need. And
and I know it's frustrating when you've taken time off, you've worked, and then your score isn't what you wanted. I had a student that wrote to me and said basically that I took time off to study for the bar back in COVID. That didn't go well, and I'm trying to get back on track with my finances. But this student said, I can't come to boot camp because the cost of taking off from work, flying to Colorado, renting a car, getting a room, paying for boot camp, flying home, is too much for me to afford. It's been my experience, and everybody has to decide for themselves, but it's been my experience that if it's important enough to you, there are ways to do this that minimize all of those expenses. You can ride share, you can get less expensive hotels, you can find cheaper flights, you can take a day off of work. The investment that you make in yourself, in your preparation, if it cuts 6 months off of you passing the bar exam, as you've heard, I think it makes a huge difference. And I love the idea of thinking about generational wealth, changing the environment, doing these other things. I don't want to see students anywhere work as victims. And I think there's a certain amount of victimization that starts to occur. I just feel like the whole system is stacked, things aren't going well, everything is just charging you more money, more time, all of those things. That's all true, but it's a matter of perspective. And I think this is where mindset really becomes so critical, that you're not a victim here. You get to make your choices, you get to make your decisions, but find the way that gives you the most access to the resources that you need. Let me give you another example. We got a student question this week that said, I suggested doing a specific photo reading regimen every night. And the student said, I don't have printed books, so should I buy the books to do photo reading? The answer is no. You can photo read digitally. That's how I do all of my photo reading, and save yourself $350. In other words, there are ways that we've set up this course to make it affordable, to make it work. Now, if you want to add on those extra pieces, you can certainly do it. If you want to fly to boot camp in first class and stay at the best hotels, you could do that, but you don't need to do that. And we're going to take care of a lot of that for you. So I think that this is all in that pattern. I want to get to one more question, and then Tracy, I'll get to you to talk about Alaska and the race to survival. We had a question from a student that said, I struggle more with MBE than essay writing. I'd like more help in that area. What would you recommend to get extra help or one-on-one coaching? A couple of things. You can use your coaching calls with me to talk about MBE questions. Now, typically I don't ask Amanda or Brianna or Tracy to handle that because it's a lot to cover. If you're working with one of them and you've got MBE questions, what we would ask you to do is to send those to us in advance so we can look at them and I can coach up our coaches a little bit to talk about them. So that's one thing. But if you want to use a full session with me or a couple of them to talk about MBE, I'm glad to do that. We also have two other products that are very inexpensive that are sessions that we did over the past couple of years. We went through and took the 10 toughest bar exam questions and we broke them down and explained how to use selective intuition. And then we did another program called the Bar Questions That Keep You Awake at Night. And again, same idea, we started working through those. So those resources are available. And within our course, you will see optional assignments that are deeper dives on some of these more difficult topics, food MBE questions, where we talk through them and show you to you and show you some mind maps and things we've done. So there's lots of ways to work through the MBE. Sometimes people say, I need just MBE coaching. The truth is you need coaching typically in every part of the exam because we want to get points from every part of the exam. So I don't love it when somebody focuses exclusively on the MBE, unless that's the only test they're taking, obviously. But just reach out and let us know. We'll give you links and glad to offer those suggestions to you. Okay, we've got more questions, but they're all in that same range of I'm struggling with, I'm trying to figure out if I need to go all in, what I have to do. And then Tracy, you came to me and said, I want to talk about a race to survive in Alaska. And I thought, don't know where she's going with this, but it feels like it might be an all-in thing. So let me turn it over to you and lay some wisdom on us, will you, Judge?
Sure. Now that I'm retired, I have time to watch television sometimes, and there's a program on called Survival Race, or Alaska Race for Survival. It's on, I think, USA Channel on Mondays. Anyway, it's fascinating. If you need a break from your study, you can watch this. So the premise is that there's 8 teams of 2 people, and they're given this trek that is broken down into 6 different races across a very remote part of Alaska. And they have a backpack. They don't have any tents. They don't have any food. They have to figure it out on their own. So in the first episode, there's a team that was, I think they were hunters, a man and his girlfriend. And they are bushwhacking through the country and they are just all in and they're just go. But they're not practicing any self-care at all. They're not hydrating. They're not resting. They're not stopping to survey where they are and what the best route is forward. And the woman collapses with heat exhaustion and dehydration and has to be airlifted out of the program and out of the race. And this race, I think, pays $500,000 or something to the winning team. So in the next episode, there's a man and his son, and the man is an adventure racer. He's done a lot of these types of races, and his son is a high school student. And they are always fighting because the high school student just wants to barrel up the hills and bushwhack and all that. And his father is saying, let's do a workaround. Let's make sense. Let's spend the time planning how we're going to go around instead of right through all of this. And we will get around the other teams and we will use experience and we will use our compasses and we'll use the tools that we do have. And sure enough, all these young teams fired up or trying to bushwhack and they're just getting nowhere and they're hurting themselves and they're dehydrated and they're frustrated. And father and son are just going around. So I thought this was an apt analogy for where you are in your bar studies. All in does not mean burning yourself out. All in does not mean doing things that don't produce any results. So you have tools here that Jackson and Amanda and Brianna and Bobka and June have given to you. And a couple of those tools are photo reading. That is designed to not have you bushwhack all the way through the underbrush, but to go around, to find a way to maximize your time and maximize your results. And then you have BarMaps, and you have the whole idea of making mind maps and spending some time up front getting your maps put together so that you are not one of the ones tearing your hair out. You're not one of the ones that is being airlifted out because you have burned yourself out. Instead, you're one of the ones that is using your time smartly and wisely, and you're doing your workarounds, and you're going and making steady progress. And sure enough, you get to the front of the pack now. So Alaska, Race for Survival, USA Channel, Monday nights.
Nice to have time off, Trace.
It is. I love it.
Some of us are working.
Some of us did for 40 years.
All right, fine. So annoying. I want to take one other question here quickly. Thank you. That's, I think, perfectly on point, and I agree totally. You need to be taking care of yourself and doing those self-care things.
Tanisha had a brilliant comment in the chat that goes right along with what you and I were just talking about. She says, I realized with boot camp that if it was my kids that needed it, I would pay for it in a heartbeat. That helped me sign up. So Tanisha, yay, I look forward to meeting you next month.
Yeah, that'd be very exciting. Yeah. And Tanisha got one of the golden tickets. So there you go. Great, thank you. So I want to wrap up with this question. We had a student who said, I took your course back in 2014. I didn't pass. I couldn't take the pressure. I had OCD and depression, never went away. I now want to get some therapy to get well, and I want to get testing accommodations to take the exam. What do you think about that? And what I thought was, good for them. They're not going to give up. This is important to them. And I see this so often with people that have, I don't want to call it a bucket list. I'm too old. Bucket list is starting to be real for me. And, but things that they want to accomplish in life, and they still have the opportunity to accomplish them and to add to the value of the bar, to be in this world. And I think going to get the help that you need, requesting accommodations if you need them, selecting a jurisdiction wisely. The UBE is a great jurisdictional test to be taking right now. And this is the time to do it. We don't know what's going to happen in 2025, 2026, 2027. There will be this different exam, maybe better. I hope it's better, but it might not be. And so this is the time to get in there and do it. And again, I just want to echo it. It's just going all in. It's doing what you have to do. So I think our message today, as we turn into this about 100-day mark until the next bar exam, is that if you've been sitting on the sidelines, get off the sidelines, get into the game, do the work you have to do, get into your studies now, start to take it more seriously than you did a month ago. If you've just gotten results and they weren't favorable for you, then you got to brush that off. And then again, go all in, get all the help you can get. The bar exam is not amenable to just casually strolling through it. It just isn't anymore. You've got to be intentional, and I think you've got to be all in to be successful. So congratulations to everyone who has passed, but to those who are still reaching out for that, you're not a failure. You're not wrong. You're not bad. But now you need to reevaluate your resources and do what it takes to get over the top. And that means for many people doing something different. Maybe it's a different course. If you're in our course, maybe it's using a different set of tools. Maybe it's just taking a different mental approach to the exam. But you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And at 100 days, this is probably the most important thing we can tell you, is to be intentional and all in. Okay, great. Thank you all for being with us. We're going to take off next week. We're doing some traveling, but as you heard, there will be group coaching calls. There'll be a whole lot of other things going on. You'll continue to receive emails from me. There's a lot happening. As results come out, we will talk about those. We'll be back in 2 weeks to update you on results. answer student questions, see what's going on. If you have questions, jump on one of those group coaching calls. People like Amanda, Brianna, Tracy, Bobka, they're fabulous resources to answer your questions. So we hope everybody has a great study week. Stay healthy, do well, and we will talk to you in 2 weeks. And with that, bye-bye, everybody.